Today we got all four Marvel Supermen going head to head. Sentry versus Gladiator versus Blue Marvel versus Hyperion. Who comes out on top? Well, that's what we gotta figure out. After testing experimental super soldier formula, the lowly Robert Reynolds became the Sentry, one of the first and mightiest superheroes. He was trapped in a constant battle of his dark side known as the Void. After his membership with the Avengers, he joined Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers and died after single-handedly destroying Asgard. More recently, Doctor Strange resurrected the Sentry, telling him to take on Loki. Now, Sentry is one of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe. It has been stated that he has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. Spider-Man, a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, even ranked him as the most powerful hero on Earth, with Hulk being ranked as second, and Black Bolt being ranked as third. However, that list didn't include Thor because he was around at the time, and the events of World War Hulk might have proven the list invalid. But this is incredible superhuman strength, and strong to overpower Ares, fight against Hulk, and beat down the female version of Ultron. Sentry also possesses superhuman speed, and is fast enough to catch bullets in his hand, fly to the sun and back in just a few moments. It's been stated that Sentry is invincible. Well, except for his fragile mind. I should really say that he's physically invincible. He's immune to Rogue's powers, and after he was killed by Thor, he spent a period of time in the sun, where he was burned down to an atom and regenerated endlessly until he was pulled out. And this is another thing. He can resurrect himself from the dead, resurrect the dead, resurrect and heal others. Sentry is also able to turn intangible and phase through objects, can emit a wave of radiation that can calm down the Hulk, can even turn invisible. According to Emma Frost, Sentry is one of the most powerful telepaths on the planet, but most of his mental powers are used to maintain his physical form. Sentry also has matter manipulation powers, as he can reform himself after being blown apart. It has been said that he can control all forms of matter on the molecular level, like Molecule Man. So that's what we got up first, Sentry. Now, Gladiator. Calark, codenamed Gladiator, was once the Prior of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, the most faithful servant of the Shi'ar throne. After the Shi'ar-Kree War, with the apparent death of Leandra and Vulcan, Calark is elevated to the position of Magister by consensus of a desperate Shi'ar population. Calark is a Strontian, which is an alien race who is already stronger and greater than humans. However, some Strontians are chosen to go through a process called the Gladiator Procedure, in order to be selected as the Strontian representatives in the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. Gladiator was the last one to go through this procedure, the last one of his race, making him the most powerful. He's one of the strongest beings in the Marvel Universe, is easily able to overpower Colossus, Wonder Man, The Thing, and match Thor in pure brute strength. He has been clocked at moving hundreds of times faster than the speed of light. Also is able to fly. He's durable enough to withstand attacks from Vulcan, Black Bolt, Thor, and Hulk with really no signs of damage. Has survived at the heart of stars, and one time withstood a supernova. Gladiator is also able to fire powerful beams of heat from his eyes that are similar in effect to Superman's heat vision. They've been measured at the same temperature as the core of a star, and are so powerful that he's able to injure the Hulk, despite the Green Goliath's incredible durability and healing factor. He also got his own version of Freeze Breath. He'll be used to drop the temperature of opponents until they're frozen solid. Gladiator is a very skilled combatant, and is a master hand-to-hand fighter, even being the one assigned to train the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. However, here's the catch to all of this. Gladiator has a very significant weakness. His strength, speed, durability, and heat vision are all tied into his confidence. So basically, what that means is the more confident he is, the stronger and more powerful he is. But once doubt creeps in, he begins to doubt himself, his powers rapidly drop. However, Gladiator has shown that he can overcome this weakness and regain his confidence if need be. Blue Marvel. When Adam discovered his superpowers, he fashioned a secret identity which would protect his country and became Blue Marvel. He served as a hero for years, was one of the most popular heroes of his time. However, Adam was pressured by the government to retire because of how much power he had and for being black. He was later forced out of retirement to face his greatest foe and former best friend, Anti-Man. Blue Marvel's powers are a result of radiation from the negative zone, and turned him into the most powerful beings in the universe. Adam is the first antimatter generator. This antimatter is the source of his power. This is vast physical strength in the same league as Thor, Hulk, and Sentry. but he's able to knock Sentry out into outer space with one punch, easily move a meteor the size of Arkansas, and the Watcher said he's capable of splitting the moon in half. Blue Marvel is as durable as heroes like Thor and Hulk, and even withstood a nuclear detonation at ground zero without any sign of harm. Despite his nigh invulnerability, he can be injured, but Adam has a regenerative healing factor, recover incredibly quickly. Blue Marvel can fly by manipulating gravitons and magnetic fields, and can fly far beyond supersonic speeds. This means they can move and think thousands of times faster than a normal human. Blue Marvel also has superhuman reflexes, agility, and stamina. However, what really sets Adam apart is his antimatter manipulation. Antimatter releases energy at 100% efficiency, and 1 gram of antimatter contains the same energy as an atomic bomb. With this, he can release beams from his hands that can cause extreme damage. He can also lower the intensity to simply stun opponents. Blue Marvel can also release an omnidirectional antimatter pulse, hit with antimatter enhanced punches, or create energy shields. Also manipulate other forms of energy, can manipulate matter at a molecular level with great precision and control. Then, finally, we got Hyperion. Hyperion is Marvel's first Superman. He's often most associated with the super team known as the Squadron Supreme, known as Avenger at one point. Though he's one of many active versions across a myriad of alternate universes, Hyperion is still one of the mightiest superhumans of the entire Marvel multiverse. And just to clarify, this is Earth 13034 Hyperion, who is now on Earth 616 and was a member of one of the more recent incarnations of the Avengers. Now, Hyperion is an Eternal with various superhuman powers, and he gets his powers from solar radiation. He possesses superhuman strength on par with Thor, Hulk, and Gladiator, and actually able to lift and throw Atlantis, slow down a hurtling planet all by himself, and definitely, most impressively, stop the collision of 2 alternate planets by himself for a short period of time. He also produces incredible stamina as long as he's exposed to solar radiation, and doesn't require air, food, water, or rest as long as exposed to the sun. Hyperion is almost completely invulnerable, but to survive a powerful energy blast, attack some superhuman beings like Thor and Hulk. He even started an incursion, where 2 whole universes are destroyed by colliding into one another. Able to fly at superhuman speeds, and while he usually keeps around Mach 4 while inside the atmosphere, he's been seen going fast at the speed of light, moving from Earth to outer space in just a few seconds. Finally, Hyperion can produce very intense beams of heat from his eyes that could reach up to at least 12,000 degrees. This attack is able to injure Thor and Hulk, incinerate the core of his glaive, and even quickly decapitated Namor. So, who wins? Well, let's break it down. Now, this is a fight that's been a long time coming, seeing as how all 4 of these guys are in some way or in some form Superman copycats, or the Supermen of the Marvel Universe. So today we got Sentry versus Blue Marvel versus Hyperion versus Gladiator. Who comes out on top? That's what we're going to figure out. Also, just to clarify, Sentry will be in complete control, and Gladiator will be at complete, unwavering confidence. Want to make sure that everyone is operating at peak capacity in this fight for the ultimate Marvel Superman. Now, obviously, physicality is going to be a massive part of this battle, seeing as everyone is superhumanly powerful. When it comes to Gladiator and Hyperion, well, it's really the only thing they're packing. So, who's stronger? Well, that's honestly ridiculously hard to say. Really, it's pretty much impossible to get a definitive answer. Sentry's been able to stop an attack from Terrax, the Herald of Galactus, palm of his hand. He's fought against, actually knocked out Blue Marvel. He's regularly been able to fight against and overpower the Hulk, even his more powerful iterations like World War Hulk. He's fought against Ultron. He managed to overpower and defeat the Void, with the Void being the one who ripped Ares in half. Efforts overpowered Thor, broke every bone in Hulk's body, ripped right through and destroyed Asgard during Siege. Then with Blue Marvel, he's caught and lifted a meteor the size of Arkansas. He staggered Maestro with one punch, and took out Ultimate Hulk with one punch. He's hit Namor so hard that Namor remarked only Hulk and Thor had hit him that hard before, and he's defeated King Hyperion, a villain that's killed other versions of Blue Marvel, of Hulk, of Thor, of Sentry, and even Eternals from different Earths and from different dimensions. He was ambushed by the Avengers once, a team consisting of Iron Man, Sentry, Wonder Man, Miss Marvel, and Ares, and Blue Marvel went out to punch Sentry into outer space with one hit, and almost instantly knocked him out. Adam went on to gain the upper hand over the Avengers, was only defeated because Sentry dive bombed him from outer space, and even almost knocked Sentry out in the process. Then there was fighting Anti-Man. Now, Anti-Man hasn't had much history in the Marvel Universe, as his only other main fight was against the Avengers, but this was an Avengers roster consisting of Iron Man, Miss Marvel, Sentry, Black Widow, Yellow Jacket, Ares, Wonder Man, the Wasp, and She-Hulk. Anti-Man absolutely dominated all these heroes, with Iron Man saying that his power level was off the charts. Reed Richards remarked that's a miracle they eventually were able to survive the attack, and Sentry even said he had never seen someone so powerful before. And yet when Adam went up against Anti-Man, Blue Marvel dominated the fight once it began to take it seriously, and even finished Anti-Man off for good. Now, Gladiator is incredibly strong, being able to effortlessly toss aside the Guardians of the Galaxy, defeat Drax the Destroyer with a single punch, hit the Thing harder ever been hit before, or take down Vulcan with 2 punches, make Beta Ray Bill bleed with a punch, knock out a weakened Thanos, hit Wonder Man so hard they pummeled Williams into the core of the planet. Gladiator even destroyed a planet before with just a few strikes, pushed with enough force to pulverize the planet. It's been said that he's able to wrestle planets from orbit and collapse stars with his hands, and as Son has said before, he's seen Gladiator crack moves with his punches, rip apart black holes with his bare hands. Now, granted, some of those might be hyperbole, but it's clear that Gladiator is insanely strong, possibly the strongest one here. Maybe Hyperion is the strongest. At the very least, he's got the most out there feats. Hyperion is able to easily overpower people like Namor, contend with Blue Marvel, even fight against Hulk and arguably knock Hulk out. Although there is some plot surrounding that, considering he's being mind controlled, and Thor took out the mind control at the same moment where Hyperion punched Hulk and arguably knocked him out. Hyperion also flown straight through Terminus' head, who's a cosmic level threat. He's brought an Earth-sized planet moving at incredible speeds to a dead halt all by himself, and definitely most impressively, Hyperion is able to hold back an incursion, which is a collision between 2 different parallel Earths. And it's not even necessarily that Hyperion failed in holding back these 2 planets, as the planets themselves crumbled, and that's why he failed. Now, Hyperion hasn't been consistently portrayed at multi-planet level in strength, but like we said, the guy has the most out there feats. So about durability? Well, Sentry's able to take multiple punches in the face from World War Hulk, just asked for more. He's been punched by Blue Marvel from Earth into orbit, and Sentry has a remarkable healing factor, to the point he's able to regenerate from a skeleton in a few seconds. It's also essentially immortal, as Sentry's been able to come back to life multiple times, even returning Molecule Man destroyed him on the molecular level, while Morgan Le Fay went back in time, killed him before he gained his powers, and raised Sentry from the timeline. Both times, he was simply able to reform out of nothing. In fact, it appears that Sentry actually has to choose to die in order to remain dead. With Blue Marvel, he had a hydrogen bomb go out the palm of his hands. Nuclear bombs aren't powerful to stop him. He's even taken laser blasts from a space fleet that was threatening to destroy the Earth. He's unfazed by blasts from Nova, taking punches from a flood of Sentry-level symbiotes, and even taking a barrage of punches from the real Sentry. On top of that, the guy's taking blasts from Anti-Man. He's able to fight against the Avengers, and beat down from King Hyperion, but yet was able to get back up and keep on fighting through all of it. If he really wanted to, Adam could even create some energy force fields so he doesn't have to take punches on these heroes directly, and these shields have held up King Hyperion's heat vision before. So about Gladiator. Well, Gladiator's flown through 100 million mile wide red sun before, is unfazed by Human Torch's Nova Blast, which is just as hot as the sun, withstood strikes from Thor or an attack from Nova, is not having Black Bolt whisper directly in his ear. Gladiator's been completely unfazed by Vulcan's attacks, taking a blast to the face from the Phoenix Blade, which contains a small portion of the Phoenix Force, so had a blast to the face from Tyrant, where a similar blast actually would knock out the Silver Surfer. Probably most impressively, Kyle was able to stand an explosion that Reed Richards described as comparable to a supernova capable of annihilating half a solar system. Then, finally, Hyperion has taken hits from Namor, and even some several high-power punches from the Hulk, yet got back up and was fine after both those attacks. He's taking blasts from the High Evolutionary, who's an extremely powerful threat, and definitely most impressively, just like Hyperion is able to momentarily hold back 2 separate Earths, He was also able to survive the destruction of both those Earths, and even arguably tank the surrounding destruction of both those entire universes as well. In fact, the Marvel Handbook actually stated that Hyperion did in fact survive the destruction of the universe. So then what about speed? Well, speed is honestly kind of difficult to quantify, because these heroes don't really have quantifiable fast and light speed feats like their DC counterpart Superman. Instead, their speed is all kind of subjective. Really, the only one who's got any quantifiable feats would be Gladiator. Being able to count 10 billion microsentinels in an instant, set a whole fight in a few nanoseconds, and outrace a blast of photons. However, the problem for Gladiator is that the guy is really too inconsistent for only speed to give them victory here, because sometimes he's been incredibly fast, other times he's been tagged by Gambit, Colossus, Wolverine, and other much slower characters. So yeah, Gladiator will probably speed blitz on in there, but given how slow people have gotten around him, and all four of these heroes are roughly comparable in speed, I don't see that giving him the victory. So who does win here? Well, that's where things begin to get a bit complicated. So I don't think Hyperion is coming out on top. He's undeniably got the best feats here, holding apart two colliding worlds, stopping the destruction of the universe. However, Hyperion has never been shown to be anywhere close to those levels except in that one occasion. So that level of power definitely isn't consistent. This version of Hyperion hasn't proven himself to be remarkably more durable than other versions of Hyperion, one which Gladiator beat in a few nanoseconds, and the other one Blue Marvel was able to defeat. So Hyperion isn't really making it here. So what about Gladiator? Well, Gladiator definitely has the most showings out of everyone here. They got the most consistent, best showings, destroying planets, moving much faster than light, getting an explosion that was going to wipe out half the solar system. Problem is, Gladiator also has the most consistent, worst showings. He just barely beat Colossus, and struggled with a small part of a power plant. He's been injured by Throg, and knocked out of one punch by Icon, and like we said, has been tagged by Gambit, Colossus, Wolverine, and others. Plus, Gladiator doesn't have near the versatility people like Blue Marvel or Sentry. And I know I did a video Blue Marvel vs. Gladiator where Gladiator won, but in hindsight, I think I got that one wrong and this one right. Gladiator could possibly beat him in just a physical fight, but Blue Marvel's antimatter versatility puts him over the edge. So, finally, Blue Marvel vs. Sentry. Well, funny enough, this fight actually played out in the comics before, with Sentry coming out on top. But there is a bit of story surrounding the fight, as neither one was taking it super seriously at first, and then Blue Marvel cracked, and sent Sentry flying to outer space with one hit. And then the only way Sentry was able to take Adam down was with a bull rush from outer space, as Blue Marvel was distracted by the other Avengers. Plus, it seemed like it took everything that Sentry had in him. So, 1-on-1, Blue Marvel could have potentially won that fight. The only wrench in that is that Sentry was able to come back from Blue Marvel's punch, while Blue Marvel didn't come back from Sentry and was out cold. But then when Sentry went up against Anti-Man, Sentry said they never met anyone so powerful. Yet Blue Marvel was able to defeat Anti-Man pretty easily when Adam began to take the fight seriously and went all out. But Sentry got more versatility that can fall back upon, like his energy manipulation and absorption, his telepathy, his immortality and regenerative abilities, especially molecular manipulation, even being able to defeat Molecule Man at his own game. Then while Sentry was beaten by Anti-Man, it's been said on multiple other occasions that Sentry's gone up against Galactus. So I really don't know what to think. But I gotta circle back around to Blue Marvel vs. Sentry's fight, because Sentry beat Blue Marvel in the fight, even though Antimatter was throwing off Sentry's own powers. And while Blue Marvel was squaring off against the whole Avengers team, Sentry decided to take it 1-on-1 pretty quickly into the fight. And while the rest of the Avengers were battling against Marvel while Sentry was up in outer space, they couldn't have done too much damage to Adam, considering they wasn't going up against Thor and Hulk, but Iron Man and Ares. The Blue Marvel was weakened by those Avengers to the point where he could be one-shotted by Sentry. Well, that's honestly a knock against him, because people on this level shouldn't be that injured by Iron Man or Ares. Plus, this was a Sentry who was abnormally weakened, considering antimatter storms were sprouting up all over the world, throwing off Sentry's powers. And yeah, Blue Marvel has antimatter powers, but they're not going to throw off Sentry to that vast degree. End of the day, I gotta go for what we've seen in the comics and say that Sentry would beat Blue Marvel, even if she's barely by the skin of his teeth. But Sentry and Blue Marvel are clearly the cream of the crop here. They're not only both competitive for title Marvel's most powerful Superman, but like we said, end of the day, Sentry just barely edges it out, making it Hyperion, Gladiator, Blue Marvel, and Sentry taking home the W. Sentry wins. But what do y'all think? I would love to hear your thoughts. So sign off in the comments down below. Also, be sure the like button, the subscribe button, turn notifications from the DanCo army, and I will see y'all next time.